out there in California. We wanted to bring in a guest that is there in California because this kind of comes under a new law in California. They're going to be able to be resentenced. That's going to be ultimately up to a judge. But from our understanding, Joseph Tully joining us now from San Francisco, California, from our understanding, the DA is going to say that they should be resentenced, which could mean they could eventually walk free. Joseph, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, so what's happening is there is a mechanism in California where the court looks at sentences that were given out years ago where the law has changed now, and it allows for resentencing, and that's what's going on here. They're not asking to be shown to be innocent or anything. They're saying, hey, look, the sentencing needs to be adjusted in light of the new law. And if that happens, basically the result is that they will be released from prison. So I think they're using this as a mechanism to achieve justice here.
Joseph, this is the same prosecutor's office, obviously different people in the prosecutor's office now than were there many, many decades ago. But how much weight will this decision that we're expecting to be hearing from the DA later on this afternoon, how much weight will the decision to resentence them, and again, that's being reported that that's what the DA is going to propose, how much weight will that carry with a judge? I would think it's going to carry a lot of weight with the judge if you compile that with this new law, how he can take a look at past abuse of victims who had been sentenced, because both of them were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
Yes, so I think that it's always good going into court with the DA's blessing on your side. So when I have a motion and I have the DA that's agreeing with me, I'll usually win. I can't think of a time when the judge has gone against it. It's very, very rare. So I think that the prosecution agreeing with the defense that there should be a resentencing, as well as all the social pressure. I think judges are not blind to it. You know, there's been some documentaries, some Netflix series. There's new allegations, regarding other witnesses being abused by the father in this case. So I think that our society has evolved too in terms of being able to understand the sexual abuse that the brothers were alleging here that led to this tragic situation.
Yeah, I really think so. And just kind of taking a look at a lot of the notes that are coming out on this, Joseph. So what we were kind of talking about, the judge can consider whether the defendants were victims of psychological or physical abuse, whether they are rehabilitated, and whether they are a danger to society. And someone inside that prison had written something about, I believe it's Lyle, talking about how he has never seen someone devote his time in prison to helping others and becoming rehabilitated. Obviously, that is going to carry weight with the judge's ultimate decision as well.
Certainly. So of those three prongs that you mentioned, I mean, just based on the general facts that have been circulating now, they would meet every single one of those prongs. And again, society has changed, and we've learned a lot about how sexual abuse really operates here. There's been other people corroborating their allegations and other evidence that was admitted that corroborates the allegations. And don't forget, the first trial hung, and the second trial, what happened there is basically the judge said, well, what worked for them in the first case to get for the defense, and cut everything out. The judge disallowed allegations of sexual abuse for the second trial where they were convicted. So this new law that does allow the resentencing, while it won't exonerate them, it will allow for justice. It will allow them to be released and hopefully bring more attention and light to this abuse that they were suffering.
Yeah, Joseph, when I was prosecuting, I always struggled with that a little bit because, the state got a redo. in this case, and a lot of the things that they were able to talk about, defense counsel was able to talk about in the first trials, then they weren't able to talk about. And a jury, it was a hung jury on those trials, and then of course, then they were convicted and serving this life behind bars without the possibility of parole. How much do you think the attention from some of these series, I just recently, a cousin of mine told me to watch the Netflix series on the Menendez brothers, and I have to admit, I do not watch a lot of TV except for court TV. And then watching this, I was just riveted. It was so fascinating to watch. And how much do you think the attention that the Netflix series has brought to this case has impacted this?
Well, I think that it has made a big impact in this case. Again, society perceives these accusations differently now. These accusations would have come out of left field at the time of these events, and especially not being able to talk about it during the second trial. And also, there's allegations against P. Diddy now, and which implicates a lot of, Hollywood, the entertainment industry. And I think that the timing of the P. Diddy accusations is also helping the Menendez case as well. It's informing society as to facts that we didn't really know before.
And Joseph, not to get too political, but there has been a lot of commentary that George Gascon's announcement later on today and him continually talking about this case is political because he is in a tight re-election bid with a conservative opponent, and people are saying that he's just doing this for more publicity. I mean, maybe that's possible, but maybe other people might argue he feels and is doing the right thing here for two people that clearly didn't have some evidence that was possibly, according to them, taking place in their home, brought into their trial in which they were found guilty and serving life in prison.
Mm-hmm. So I think from what I've seen of him previously, what he's doing here is in line with his past actions. So I do think that I will always praise a prosecutor when they do the right thing, and I will always try to point out when I believe that they're not acting in accordance with the law. So here, really, there was a letter that was written by one of the brothers to a cousin, which corroborated abuse, and that was prior to the murders. And there's also another accusation from a former Menudo artist a singer who claims sexual abuse by the father. So I think that the prosecutor is looking at evidence and not discounting it, not saying, oh, I'm not going to believe this, like a lot of prosecutors do. So I praise the prosecutor for actually looking at the evidence and for pursuing justice.
I was a really big Menudo fan when I was a young girl, and still at my grandmother's farm we have the record player, and it still has the cover of the Menudo. So when we would go out to the farm, I still see it. It's still sitting there. So again, I have just been fascinated, as well as the country, with this case, Joseph. And so I'm really anxious to see what George Gascon has to say a little bit later. The family, the Menendez family, has come out. We have seen Kitty's sister, Kitty Menendez, was the mother who was also killed. The mother has come out, or her sister rather, has come out, and she has spoken in support of her nephews. Also, we have heard from, I believe, a cousin. I think we have that sound for you. We're going to play it, and then I'll talk with you about it, Joseph, on the other side.